Scientists found a 374 million year old tree, and while studying it, it completely changed our understanding of how trees evolved. That's because the trunk of the tree didn't have rings. Any rings. If you grew up knowing that you can tell how old a tree is by counting its rings, then you can probably see why this discovery was a bit puzzling. Although I will say I didn't grow up knowing that you could tell how old a tree was.
Really?
Well, I didn't grow up in a redwood forest, Ashley.
Fair. That is a fair point.
Though we do have trees in Illinois. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a Boy Scout or something.
Fair.
How'd you know?
No, yeah, I grew up in a redwood forest. It was just kind of taught to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, in May 2017, a team of researchers announced that the trunk of an ancient tree found in northwest China, that's the ancestor of modern trees and ferns, looks nothing like the trees of today. Now, tree rings, like we were talking about a second ago, are composed of a tissue called xylem that moves water from a tree's roots to its tips. In most trees, xylem grows in a single cylinder just under the bark. New wood grows on top of that, and the tree gets ever bigger in a predictable yearly cycle. Side note, palm trees don't have rings. Their xylem grows in strands, which is why a cross-section of a palm tree is covered in dots instead of rings. But back to this ancient tree fossil, instead of growing xylem in yearly rings or in strands distributed throughout, this tree grew narrow strands in the outer 5 centimeters of its trunk, connected together in a web formation. That means that instead of rings, the cross-section of this fossil is covered in what looks like Dalmatian spots. Each of those spots, or strands, grew its own xylem rings, creating what was essentially tree trunks growing within a tree trunk. As those interconnected mini trees got bigger, their connections split apart and repaired themselves to keep the tree from breaking under its own weight. What you end up with was a huge tree with a flat base and a bulbous trunk. It's like the tree ripped its skeleton apart and collapsed under its own weight at the same time, all while staying alive and growing upwards and outwards. And it's unusual for evolution, but not unheard of, that these trees aren't any less complicated than modern ones. Why would the oldest trees use such a complex growth strategy? To answer this question, the researchers will need to find more fossils just as well preserved as this one. All I know is while the researchers are looking for more old trees, they may as well keep an eye out for the Entwives.
There it is. There it is.